I'm joined now by Daniel Serwer. He is the director of the Conflict Management Program at the School of Advanced International Studies at Johns Hopkins University. As options go, there aren't a lot of good ones, are there?
There aren't. You can have a small strike, won't have much impact. You can have a big strike, and even that may not have much impact because there are no forces on the ground allied with the United States now. So I don't see a lot of good options here. I don't see how the U.S. can bring this war to an end, which is what's really needed.
And I guess the natural follow-up to that is if an attack being lobbed into Syria last April didn't deter this from happening, what would be the eventual, I mean, could this change the equation if there is a strike? Because it didn't seem to have an impact this time around.
I don't think it's going to change the equation. No, I don't think it had an impact, any serious impact. It may have kept the level of chemical weapons use to a bit of lower level. They haven't used sarin gas. They've used chlorine, which is much less deadly. But look, Assad is committed to using chemical weapons whenever they suit his military purposes.
When we look at these images, it just has a kind of a visceral effect on all of us, especially when you see children involved. Is that the key here, just some optics? We're doing something about this? Because as you say, it's not really going to change the equation. Is it just basically playing to a domestic audience?
I think it's playing to an audience of one, to tell you the truth. I think it's the president who is most affected by those pictures. The rest of the country, I won't say it's indifferent to them, but it's not enormously agitated about them because there's so much going on that's agitating the country. There's little room left over for concern about Syria.
The U.S. president has tried to, he's spoken to allies. The UK, France may also join in this, Saudi Arabia, there's been discussion of that. There's a larger coalition. Does that have any impact at all?
Well, I think it's very important if the U.S. does strike to do it in conjunction with a larger coalition. That really does make a big difference in diplomacy, sends a much stronger message than a single unilateral American strike. But again, I just don't see how a single strike on some well-defined set of targets is going to have any impact on Bashar al-Assad's calculation that he can use chemical weapons without much reaction from the United States.
I've talked to you in the past. I've talked to others about this issue. It just seems like there's nothing that can be done. I mean, we watch the UN, it seems like it's frozen. Nothing ever seems to happen. The international community doesn't really respond. There's talk of peace talks, but they always crumble. What's the answer, or is there an answer?
Whenever the great powers, in this case, Russia and the United States, have sharp disagreements on an issue, it's impossible to use the Security Council, and things don't get done well. The United States has surrendered a lot of its options unilaterally. It canceled the assistance to the relatively moderate Syrian forces on the ground, and instead has wanted to fight only ISIS and has left Bashar al-Assad alone, even when he used chemical weapons many times in the last year. So what we've done, I'm afraid, is to disarm ourselves.
When do you expect something to happen?
Hard to tell. If they're trying to get a multinational effort together, it might take even a couple more days. I don't see us moving a lot of assets that would be required for a sustained attack. So you could see, you know, a pinprick type of attack. Mind you, a pinprick can be 52 cruise missiles. It's a serious pinprick. Yeah. But a one-off thing like that could happen at any time. It could be happening while we're speaking.
Daniel, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming in.
My pleasure.